For centuries, it was the cradle of civilization. Then, for decades, it became the world's gas station, a volatile region of endless conflict that the great powers managed from afar. But that era is over. The Middle East is no longer just a prize to be won. It has transformed into the most active, decisive chessboard of the 21st century. The moves made here between the United States, China, and Russia will not just shape the region's future. They will determine the balance of global power for the next 100 years. This is the story of why the ancient crossroads of the world is now the modern world's center of gravity. In the next 25 minutes, we will unravel the grand geopolitical realignment that is reshaping our world. We will expose China's secret master plan to dominate the Middle East without firing a single shot. We will reveal the shocking new alliance between mortal enemies, brokered not in Washington, but in Beijing, and we will show you the one critical resource that is replacing oil as the region's most valuable asset, a resource that is forcing every global power to pick a side. The future is being decided not in the halls of Washington or Moscow, but in the deserts of Riyadh and the corridors of power in Tehran. To understand the present, we must first understand the system that is now collapsing. For nearly 80 years, the Middle East operated under a simple, brutal framework: the Petro-American hegemony. In the aftermath of World War II, the United States made a strategic masterstroke. It offered security guarantees to the oil-rich kingdoms of the Gulf, most notably Saudi Arabia. In return, these kingdoms would price their oil in US dollars and ensure a steady flow of crude to the West. The US Navy became the guardian of the Persian Gulf's shipping lanes. The American military umbrella protected friendly regimes. In return, the US gained unparalleled influence, a stranglehold on the global economy's lifeblood, and the exorbitant privilege of the petrodollar. This order was enforced through a simple binary. You were either with America or you were against it. Nations like Iran, Syria, and Saddam's Iraq found themselves in the crosshairs. For decades, this system provided a tense, but predictable, stability. But all empires eventually face challengers, and all orders eventually fray. The first major crack in the foundation appeared with the 2003 invasion of Iraq. The US, acting as the undisputed hegemon, toppled a dictator. But the resulting chaos, the rise of sectarian violence, and the birth of ISIS demonstrated the limits of American military power to engineer political outcomes. The invasion exhausted American blood and treasure, and, more importantly, it exhausted the American public's appetite for endless war in the region. At the same time, a technological miracle was unfolding back home: the American shale revolution. By mastering fracking and horizontal drilling, the United States transformed itself from the world's largest oil importer into its largest producer. Overnight, the strategic imperative that had driven American policy for half a century, securing Middle Eastern oil, began to lose its urgency. The Middle East was no longer a vital interest. It was becoming a strategic distraction. And as America slowly turned its gaze inward and toward the Pacific to confront China, a power vacuum began to form. And nature, like geopolitics, abhors a vacuum. Into this vacuum stepped the region's own heavyweights, no longer content to be mere pawns in a great power game. With the American security guarantee looking less certain, Saudi Arabia and Iran escalated their Cold War for regional dominance into a series of devastating hot proxy conflicts. This was no longer just a sectarian split between Sunni and Shia. It was a naked struggle for geopolitical primacy. The battle lines were drawn across the entire map. In Yemen, Saudi Arabia and Iran fought a brutal war of attrition, turning the poorest nation in the Arab world into a killing field. In Syria, Iran's intervention, backed by Russia, saved the Assad regime, securing a crucial land bridge to the Mediterranean and cementing its axis of resistance. Saudi Arabia and its allies, feeling abandoned by a retreating America, began to realize they could no longer rely solely on Washington. They needed new partners. They needed to hedge their bets. The bipolar world of the old order was shattering, giving way to a multipolar free-for-all. The first great power to boldly step into the American vacuum was not China, but a resurgent Russia. For Vladimir Putin, the Middle East represented the perfect opportunity to shatter the post-Cold War world order and announce Russia's return as a global power. The Syrian civil war was his opening. In 2015, with a relatively small but highly effective military intervention, Russia turned the tide of the war, single-handedly saving its client, Bashar al-Assad. This was a geopolitical masterstroke. For a minimal investment, Russia gained a permanent military presence on the Mediterranean Sea, secured a loyal client state, and demonstrated to every leader in the region that while America was an unreliable partner, Russia was a decisive one. Moscow positioned itself as the indispensable power broker, talking to everyone: the Israelis, the Iranians, the Turks, the Saudis. It was no longer an outsider. It was a central player, proving that in the new Middle East, loyalty was dead, and pragmatism was king. But while Russia was making noise with its military, a far more profound and transformative power was arriving silently, with a checkbook instead of a gun. That power was China. China's strategy in the Middle East is the polar opposite of America's historical approach. It is not ideological. It is not military, at least not yet. It is purely, ruthlessly economic. Through its Belt and Road Initiative, China is offering something every Middle Eastern leader craves: massive infrastructure investment without any pesky conditions about human rights or democratic reforms. It is building ports in the UAE, financing cities in Egypt, and integrating the entire region into its economic orbit. But China's most crucial interest remains the same as America's once was: energy security. It is now the largest customer for oil from Saudi Arabia, Iran, and the Gulf states. This gives Beijing immense leverage. It doesn't need to command obedience through aircraft carriers. It can demand compliance through economic dependency. China is patiently weaving a web of mutual interests so strong that when the time comes, no Middle Eastern nation will be able to afford opposing its will. The ultimate demonstration of this new reality. The moment the baton of influence was visibly passed occurred in March 2023. In a stunning diplomatic coup, China brokered a deal to restore diplomatic relations between Saudi Arabia and Iran. Let that sink in. The two regional archrivals whose proxy war had defined a decade of conflict chose to make peace, not in Washington, not in Geneva, but in Beijing. This was a tectonic shift. For the United States, it was a profound humiliation, proof that its traditional role as the ultimate mediator and security guarantor was over. For China, it was a declaration. It announced to the world that it now held the primary key to regional stability. It proved that economic power could achieve what military power never could, bringing sworn enemies to the table under its banner. The new order had a name, and it was not the American century. It was the Chinese century. So, the old American order has collapsed. Russia has re-established itself as a military kingmaker, and China has arrived as the new economic overlord. But this is not the end of the story. This is the beginning of the most dangerous and unpredictable phase yet. Because now, every nation in the Middle East is being forced to play a new high-stakes game. And the choices they make will not just reshape their region, they will redefine the entire global power structure. No nation faces a more complex and perilous future in this new landscape than Israel. For decades, its security was guaranteed by an unbreakable alliance with the United States. But in a multipolar Middle East, that is no longer enough. The Abraham Accords, which normalized relations with several Arab states, were a strategic triumph, creating a united front against Iran. But this front is now fracturing. As Saudi Arabia moves closer to China and seeks détente with Iran, Israel finds its new partners drifting into a neutral, or even hostile, camp. The old paradigm of a unified Arab-Israeli front against Iran is dissolving. Israel now faces a nightmare scenario: a resurgent Iran, nearing a nuclear breakout capability. While its traditional American ally is distracted and its new Arab allies are hedging their bets. Israel stands as a military powerhouse, but an increasingly isolated and geopolitically lonely one, forced to consider unilateral action that could ignite the entire region. At the heart of this great realignment is the ultimate pragmatist: Saudi Arabia. Under the visionary and ruthless Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the kingdom is executing a breathtaking geopolitical pivot. Its ambitious Vision 2030 plan aims to wean the economy off oil, and to do that, it needs partners. But it is no longer putting all its eggs in the American basket. It is playing a multi-vector game of breathtaking audacity. It maintains its security ties with Washington, while deepening its energy partnership with Beijing, and even exploring political dialogue with Tehran. It is talking to everyone, leveraging its oil, its wealth, and its strategic location to extract maximum benefit from every global power. Saudi Arabia is betting that in the new multipolar world, its sovereignty and its future will be secured not by allegiance to one patron, but by being the indispensable swing state that all patrons need to court. It is transforming from a client state into a master of the balance of power. And what of oil? The resource that defined the old Middle East. Its reign is not over, but its nature is changing. The global transition to green energy is not making the Middle East irrelevant. It is making it more critical than ever, but for a different reason. The region is now ground zero for the next great resource war, the battle for green energy supremacy. The components of solar panels, wind turbines, and electric vehicle batteries like cobalt, lithium, and rare earth minerals are the new oil, and the Middle East and North Africa hold immense potential for solar and wind power generation. The nation that can dominate the production of green hydrogen or become a hub for carbon capture technology will command the 21st century economy. China is already cornering the market on the critical mineral supply chain. The West is scrambling to catch up. The Middle East, with its vast capital and ideal geography, is the ultimate prize in this new race. The future of global power will belong to whoever controls the energy of the future, and the Middle East is once again at the center of it all. This new multipolar reality does not guarantee stability. It makes catastrophic miscalculation more likely than ever. We are entering a period historians call a multipolar trap. In a world with one hegemon like the post-Cold War United States, conflicts are managed. In a world with 3 or 4 competing powers, each supporting different proxies, any local conflict can rapidly spiral into a global confrontation. Imagine a crisis between Israel and Hezbollah, a group armed and funded by Iran. In the past, the US might have been able to contain it. Now, Russia might back Iran to needle the US, while China might restrain action to protect its economic interests, sending completely mixed signals. With no single power able to impose order, and every power seeking an advantage, the guardrails are gone. The Middle East has become a crowded theater with multiple actors, all holding guns, and no single director. It is the perfect recipe for a war that no one wants, but that everyone stumbles into. The Middle East has therefore become the fulcrum upon which the 21st century balance of power will tilt. It is the primary testing ground for American resolve, the proving ground for Russian military diplomacy, and the central theater for China's economic expansionism. The outcomes of the struggles there between Israel and Iran, between the Sunni and Shia axes, between fossil fuels and green energy, will create ripple effects that will be felt in every capital on Earth. The nation, or bloc of nations, that can exert the most influence over this chaotic, vital region will gain a decisive advantage in the broader global competition. The Middle East is no longer a sideshow. It is the main event. It is where the future of global power is being decided, not in a single great battle, but in 1,000 daily transactions, alliances, and conflicts. The world's past was written in its ancient sands. Its future will be written there too.